Welcome to the Mindful Toolbox, where we hold space for the quiet tears at bedtime, the morning meltdowns, and the question that you whisper to yourself when no one else is around. Am I doing enough? Is my child okay? What now can I do? If we haven't met yet, my name is Sarah Lynn. I am a cognitive behavior therapy specialist, proud tutor at Bettering Youth, and too much of a plant lady. Today's episode is a big one and a tender one. We're talking emotionally based school non-attendance. It was previously known as emotional based school avoidance, but as we'll learn in this podcast, not all children who refuse school are avoiding it. Sometimes they just can't make it in for a variety of reasons. We're gonna dig into that today. So EBSNA is a topic that I've researched, I've written about, I've lived through while supporting hundreds of families, and it's something that I still continue to learn from. Maybe you're here because your mornings feel like walking on eggshells, or because your child cries and screams that they do not want to go back into school the next day, or because you feel like you've tried everything, you've exhausted all options, and you have no idea how else to support them. This episode is made especially for you. Did you know that recent data in 2023-2024 school academic year suggests that 1.5 million pupils were persistently absent from school? That means that they've missed a minimum of 10% of their academic year. That is not a small number. 1.5 million pupils were not able to consistently show up for education. That's 20% of the school population. And for parents who are on the front line, not feeling like you have a community who understands why your child can't access mainstream school or can't make it in, can feel incredibly isolating. So today's topic, we are going to be walking through what EBSNA is, why it may not be a behavior issue, and practical steps that you can implement today to support you and your family. You're gonna hear real stories from parents just like you, like N, whose daughter was hospitalized for suicidal ideation and is now achieving 20 hours of education every week, or like A, whose daughter quit dancing, refused to go to school, and now walks into school daily. These are examples of moments of trust built slowly. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're scared of being judged, if it feels like school just doesn't quite know how to help, please know this: you are not alone and your child is not broken. And I know you might be hearing things like, they just need more discipline. You should make them go. They're just ruling the house. Or worse yet, you're giving in and they're just being lazy. But here's the truth. School avoidance or school non-attendance, especially when it becomes chronic, is very rarely about laziness. It's about distress. It's the body saying, hello, it is not safe for me to be in this environment, or at least I don't feel safe in this environment. So let's get a practical definition before we jump into the ways that you can support your family. The NHS defines emotionally based school non-attendance as when a child or young person experiences significant difficulty attending school due to emotional distress. It's not the same as truancy. In fact, many of the students that we work with actually want to go to school. They want to have a future. They want to do things with their life. They just don't feel like it's a safe place for them to attend. According to the Center for Mental Health, EBSNA can be linked to a variety of factors. It can be linked to anxiety, so you have generalized, specialized, social phobias. It can be undiagnosed learning needs or sensory sensitivities. It could even be external factors that we're not even considering, like bullying or an illness in the family or a breakdown within the family home. Thing is, they're not avoiding school because they don't care or because they're lazy. They're avoiding school because it feels overwhelming. There's something about the environment that triggers their nervous system to go into fight and flight mode. Right now, as of 2025, 1 in 5 children are thought to have a mental health disorder. And anxiety is one of the biggest. So when we see tears at drop-off, or that faraway look in their eyes at bedtime, this behavior, it's not rare. And it's not naughtiness. It's a nervous system waving the red flag saying, help me, I just don't know how to communicate that I need help. Last year, we had a phone call from a mom. She was in tears. Her daughter, year 9, was a professional dancer. She was sociable, she went to school, she did okay. However, it suddenly stopped when she went from year 8 to year 9. It started slowly, so bedtimes became difficult. She refused to sleep alone. Then came the morning meltdowns. The screaming, the swearing, the kicking, the biting. She stopped seeing her friends completely. She dropped out of dance, and she became completely dependent on her mom. So the school reduced her timetable, but there was no structured support. And because she didn't have an EHCP, so an educational healthcare plan, there was no scaffolded reintegration, which meant that she was just expected to go from less class to back to full-time within a couple of weeks. As you can imagine, her mom was exhausted. She was torn between going to work and staying at home with her daughter, and completely terrified as to the escalation of behavior. But here's the thing. Her daughter, when we met, wasn't being defiant. She was completely overwhelmed. She didn't believe she was smart enough. She thought she was too far behind once they gave her a reduced timetable. And most of all, she thought no one understood. So we started with 1 hour a week. No pressure to catch up, just connection, relevant learning, things that were connected to her big dream of being an esthetician. We made it feel real, and we made it feel useful. And when she said, I can't do maths, which, let's just be honest, she said all the time, we didn't argue. We just showed her gently that maybe she could. Now, she's attending regularly. She works with a tutor one-to-one, but she actively goes into school every single day, which is something that she couldn't do at the beginning of last year. That is progress. That, my friends, is a huge win. And this is something that I've seen time and time again while working with families. But I want to caution you, this is not a quick fix. Most parenting guides and platforms and things you find on Pinterest, they don't remind us that every child and every family dynamic is unique. We know it, of course, on a logical level, but when you see 5 quick steps to get your child back to school, you think, great. And when it doesn't work, you internalize that. It must be me. It must be how I did it. Maybe I didn't do enough. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Your child's school avoidance might be down to a variety of factors. Sensory overload, persistent anxiety, past trauma, bullying. There's so many things at play here, and it's important that we don't feed into the narrative that this could be fixed very quickly with just a few quick steps. I'm going to break down the 2 approaches that I have for you today. The first is going to be all of the quick wins that you might want to try just today with your family to see if they work, things that you can implement at a moment's notice. And then I'm going to give you 6 practical and effective tips that other families just like yours have used and seen the beautiful benefits from. Because let's be honest, sometimes we're just at capacity and we can't jump right into the deep end. And I know there's some of you out there that are just like me and you have that, come on, let's do it all, let's jump in, let's fix this right away energy. I see you and I love that. But we need to remember that this is a long uphill battle. We are rebuilding and restructuring the nervous system of an individual. It is not something that we can fix overnight. And while I love your gumption and your jump in and get it done attitude, it can lead to burnout. I've seen it. So the best thing we can do is to listen with an open heart and open mind and jot down things that really feel like they could resonate with your family. and then give them a go. This episode is not about quick fixes and magical switches that will happen. It's about starting points. If you don't have your pencil and paper, or you want to be able to come back to this in the future, I've got you. We have a checklist down in our show notes for anybody who's subscribed to our community. And it's there because, like you, I love a checklist. I love something that I can skim and refresh and reflect upon, and things that are visual for me. So if that could be helpful for you, do not forget, whether you are on our YouTube video and you're watching this live, or you're listening to the podcast on any of your podcast providers, head into the show notes, download that checklist, and come back to something that feels like it resonates with you and your family. Okay, let's dive in to the quick things that I think you could do at a drop of a hat. The first is creating space to breathe. And I know you're probably thinking, but Sarah Lynn, literally, you know my to-do list is an arm's length and it never gets finished. How on earth am I gonna find time to breathe? And trust me, I get it. I've heard these responses. That's why I know it's what you're about to say. But even if it's just 2 minutes, when you're boiling the kettle, or the 5 minutes that you have before the kids come out the doors from their club, it's about creating moments where you don't have to fix. You don't have to create or do. There's a beautiful song that I love, and it talks about how breathing is the act of success alone. Just by breathing, you're doing your job. And you can even try this with your child. It's such a beautiful thing to start modeling regulation and tools for supporting yourself in front of your child. The thing is, you want to be their role model so you can provide them your calm and not take on their chaos. Okay, let's dive into number 2, the second thing that I believe can make a really big difference, and that is identity. It's so easy to get caught up into labels. The kid who's refusing school, the parent who's showing up late at pickup and drop off. But that's not who they are, and that's not gonna define who you are either. So let's switch it. It's not my child is refusing school. We don't want that one. It's my child is telling me in the only way that they know how that school doesn't feel like a safe place for them. It's not I'm failing as a parent. Instead, I'm learning how to support my child in a school setting that just doesn't serve them. EBSNA is not a parenting failure. It's a systems failure. And the only way to solve it is if we come together to work through it case by case. And here's the thing, you don't need to be an expert in everything. That's where I come in, not as an expert, but someone who's worked with families just like yours, who may be able to look at what other families are doing and pass down those tiny little nuggets of hope and experience that they've uncovered. It's not about trying every method. It's about finding the one that suits you and your child. And hey, I'm gonna be honest, you might try something and it doesn't work, but that's okay. It's not failure. It is learning. It's the learning journey. What you've done is you've become one step closer to finding out what your child needs and what doesn't work for them. This whole journey for both you and your child is about experimenting. I think that is the point of parenting. It's about adjusting and adapting and taking it one step at a time. Speaking of, let's talk about the slow burn progress. This is number 3 that I think you can implement right away. When you're feeling the pressure to get results, slow progress can feel so frustrating, right? But here's the truth. Slow progress is still progress. It's those small wins, even the ones that feel so insignificant. They build up, they build trust, and they lead you in the right direction. So when you embrace the slow and steady approach, you'll start to see results that are sustainable in the long run. And I know sometimes you're gonna feel like you've taken 10 steps forward and then all of a sudden your child digs their heels in and they just don't want to engage. And that's where the frustration kicks in. And please know it is totally normal and valid that you feel that frustration. But we can't force them to want to try. And it's tough to see progress when it feels like nothing is changing or like you're going backwards. But what if I told you that's exactly part of the process? It's okay to hit pause when needed. And by respecting that process or that pause that they've just hit, you build trust. you build trust with them, and they're going to adapt and bounce back and become way more resilient because they are now borrowing your calm, steady pace. They're learning from you. Now, let's move into connection, the fourth thing that I think you can implement today with your family. Connection, I'm not just talking about connection with your child, but with your support network too. Whether it's family, friends, other parents, or what you see on social media and what you listen to on podcasts. You're not alone in this journey. Raising a child, raising a family was meant to be done as a village. And sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is share the load. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. Reach out, ask for advice, lean on the communities that are one step ahead of you. That is magic. That is where you will find that flow. Quick pause. If this is resonating with you, screenshot and share this episode with a parent friend who needs to hear your child is not broken and you are doing a darn good job in supporting them. That might be the lifeline that they need today. Okay, so now that we've talked about creating space to breathe, shifting perspective on identity, embracing slow progress, and leaning on your community, let's dive into some more nitty-gritty practical skills. Remember, these are not mandatory and they won't work for everyone, but a person with knowledge is always a person better able to act. So, number one, the first out of 6 tips that other families just like yours swear by in supporting the emotional-based school non-attendant process. Co-regulation before conversation. Before you troubleshoot with them, regulate. Regulate yourself and help them regulate themselves. Your child's nervous system needs safety cues, not solutions. There's a couple things that you can try for co-regulation. You can speak softer than you think you need to. You can sit side by side instead of face on. There's something about having someone sitting beside you that makes it feel more like we're on the same team rather than intimidating. Offer physical grounding. Can you feel your feet on the floor? Do you want maybe a soft pillow to stroke while we're having this conversation? Should we go for a walk? Get that movement going so we're moving in the same direction together. The key here is to share your calm, not take on their chaos. Introducing co-regulation can sound like, before we fix this, let's just breathe together. Or, I want to be able to talk to you, but I would love for us to be on the same page. I'm going to sit beside you. Can we take a nice big deep breath together? Number 2, we need to shift from fixing to scaffolding. We're not trying to fix the child. They're not broken. What we are trying to do is slowly return them back to safety and eventually engaging with education. Some things that you can try. Start with some non-academic points of contact. Baking, design, anime, sport, looking at statistics together, beauty. There's so many options. Finding their lens that they're happy to look at will allow you to do passive or real-world learning. So we use their interests to rebuild motivation. Also, another thing is to reframe your questions. Instead of, why won't you just go to school? Start with, what part of the day feels the hardest? When we take away the blame and the shame, we're able to get curious, and that curiosity builds space for honesty from your child. And that is where you may just discover exactly what they need to reintegrate back into the education system. Third thing that you can do, reclaim control with a laddered approach. Tiny steps lead to the biggest wins. Create a ladder for re-entry that starts with where your child is, not from where the school wants them to be. So what can that look like? When and if they're spending time at home, listen to school-related audiobooks. Get dressed, do your self-care, but stay home next day. Get dressed, do your self-care, get in the car, drive past the school next day. Get dressed, get your school bits, get ready, get in the car, drive to the school parking lot. Next time, enter the building for 10 minutes. Next time, attend one subject or your favorite club. And along the way, up that ladder they move. Celebrate every single rung, every single step. It is such a massive feat for someone to reintegrate with an environment that creates such a heightened state of stress and anxiety within their body. It is massive. Okay, I want to check in with you. How are you feeling so far? There's so many details that we've been talking about and sharing, and I hope this resonates with you and gives you a small glimmer of what could be possible for your family. But don't forget, small steps are key here. Take a moment, jot down questions or thoughts or reflections that might be coming up. And if you want to, slide into our messages. I read every single one of your messages and would be more than happy to help where I might be able to. Okay, number 4 out of the 6 things we can do to support your family through supporting a child who is emotionally based school not attending is to create a profile for your child. Sometimes children are not resisting school, they're resisting the overwhelm, the feeling of being in that environment. They just don't have the capacity, the words to express it. So we might need to notice some patterns. Which part of the day triggers the dysregulation? Does sound or light or specific clothing or noise, does that seem to overwhelm them? Have you noticed if they need movement or stillness or silence or background noise, connection? What is it that they thrive in? What kind of environment do they really thrive in? And once you understand these things, and you've kind of pulled together a profile of sorts, you can advocate more clearly and set up realistic supports. This leads us to number 5. Reframe your role from fixer to the calm anchor. This one is for you. It's not for your child. This one's for you. Lean in. Here we go. Repeat to yourself, I don't need to solve all of this today. I do not need to solve all of this today. It's okay to take one step at a time. It is okay to take this one step at a time. Calm is my superpower right now. Calm is my superpower right now. As a parent, a guardian, a carer, our innate reaction is to scoop that child up out of their worry, their fear, their hurt, and to fix everything for them. That is what we want to do because we love them so much. But we need to remember that this is a long, beautiful, and will be a rewarding road when we take it one step at a time. You are so important to this journey for your child. You need to give yourself some grace. You have to slow yourself down to speed yourself up. It's so uncomfortable to hear that, but I hope you know that it's a reminder that I provide because of all of the parents that I've seen go through this journey. Number 6, use compassionate language with schools. You don't need to argue, but you can advocate. Something you can say, something along the lines of, we are currently working on scaffolded reintegration. Right now, we're focusing on regulation, engagement, and mental health safety. We'd love to collaborate with you and the school on a reintegration plan that matches where my child currently is. When you acknowledge your child's window of tolerance, which we'll talk about in future episodes about emotional regulation, when we acknowledge that you want to meet them where they are and slowly expand that window of tolerance, and you show the school that you're not avoiding school, that you're being incredibly thoughtful, and that you're leading with your child's mental health at the forefront of your view, that will allow an alignment where you're both able to approach the situation of supporting your child to feel safe and comfortable in a space where they have the right to feel safe and comfortable. You will find alignment and you can move forward together. If you are someone who loves a checklist, hi, me too. I love the feeling of ticking things off. So we've created one just for you. It walks you through the early signs of emotional-based school non-attendance, if it's just a little blip or if it's heading into something more chronic. We talk about the co-regulation tools that we've mentioned today. We provide solutions and scripts and prompts on how you can talk to your school and what you may want to avoid saying, even if you say it with the best intentions. And the best thing about having a checklist is you can go at your own pace. I love that you're able to currently pause and rewind what I say, but having that checklist means that you can approach it at any point of your day really quickly. There's no pressure. Okay, my friends, we have made it to the end of the 4 things that I feel like you can implement right now and the 6 things that you may be able to implement on a bigger scale. So let's take a deep breath. We are almost there. The most important thing that you can do right now is take one small step. It's what it's all about. Whether that's sitting down with your child for a conversation, giving them space and modeling breath work with them, or reaching out to a friend or your community for extra support. Start with something that feels manageable, and if you're like me, write it down so you can tick it off. But if you're feeling lost or unsure and you've listened to this podcast and you think to yourself, well, I feel like I've done all of that, I still don't know where else to go. Remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. But I'm also here to act as a conduit of information. So if there's more that you want to find out, feel free to get in touch. I'd love to know what else you might need to unpick so we can put it in our next episodes and find solutions and techniques and tips that can support you and your family even more. But above all else, I want to remind you that you are showing up for your family, for your child, and that is what matters the most. If you've tried it all before, feel like you're still out of ideas, you're in the right place, because the fact that you're showing up for your child, you're still looking for solutions, you're still wanting help, that's your superpower. It's your calm, steady approach. And that is a wrap for today's episode. Before we go, just like in my tutoring sessions, let's quickly recap the actionable tips and steps that you can take today. And for my neurodiverse listeners, I see you. Today was so much information. I really did try to highlight just the important bits. So when I'm listing things out, I'm going to list them out super quick. Jot down something that really speaks to you. Pop it on your fridge with a sticky note, and you'll be able to see it more often, which will help with the processing of it all. Okay, here we go. Our recap is coming at you in 3, 2, 1. First thing that we can do today, create space to breathe. Number 2, shift your perspective on identity. And this one might take the most work. Instead of my child doesn't attend school, it's my child is telling me in the only way that they know how that school doesn't feel like a safe place. And so I, as a parent, am showing up for them, providing them tools to regulate their nervous system, and we will figure out a way to reintegrate at a speed that serves them. So let's flip that identity. It doesn't serve us to have it. Don't forget to acknowledge the slow burn process. Not all good things come quickly. Next, it's about community. Not just community and connection with your child, but your connection to your greater community. Okay, heading into our 6 tips. Co-regulate before you converse. Regulate your nervous system by taking in those deep breaths, by wiggling out all of the stress, whatever you have to do. Regulate your nervous system so your child can borrow your calm. Sometimes calm is more important than quick solutions. Number 2, shift from fixing to scaffolding. Move away from the mindset that they need to be doing X. They must be able to achieve Y. Let's scaffold, let's build a foundation that's not going to crumble the next time they have a little wobble. We need to return them back to school with confidence. Number 3, use a laddered approach to reclaim control. It's all well and good sometimes to jump into the deep end, but when we're dealing with a heightened state of a nervous system, we need to calm it down before we can do that. So let's start where they are. Next, create a sensory and emotional profile. The more that you can identify and your child can understand what feels unnerving, where they get dysregulated, if there's something that they can take ownership of, then you and them will feel more empowered to advocate on their behalf. And lastly, shift yourself from being the fixer to the anchor. Your job, your role is to be a steady, safe place for them so they can weather the storm. You show up consistently as you already do, you try to move forward with progress, and you celebrate and see them along their journey. Okay, that wraps us up. If this was insightful for you, share it with your family and friends. You can help keep yourselves accountable and find community along the way. And if you're sitting there thinking, I have no other parents in my community that understand what I'm going through, well, I can assure you, if you join us on Instagram at Bettering Youth Tutors, you will find a host of families who are going through and prioritizing student well-being and mental health that supports their academic journey within and beyond the classroom. So come and join us. Join us for episode 3, The Brain and Anxiety, Why Learning Feels Hard. If your child zones out, gets frustrated, or seems to forget something during their test, it's not a lack of ability. It's often anxiety. We'll unpack what actually happens in the brain when stress kicks in, how it affects memory and attention, and most importantly, what you can do at home to help alleviate some of this. You're going to hear real stories from families that we work with and what's worked for them. We're going to dive into the key element that helps students overcome performance anxiety, especially with exams. We'll break down why the just try harder mentality often backfires and what we can do instead. And we'll share even more co-regulation and phrases that you can do to help them along the way. This one is powerful. But until then, take a breath. You're not behind. You're exactly on the right track. You've got this, and I've got you. Until next time, I'm Sarah Lynn, and this is the Mindful Toolbox Podcast. Speak soon.